Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie Room. Now today we are going to have a little bit of a recap on our roaches. And today we're going to do our red runners. Now we've been asked many questions over these since we done a sort of care video of them around about 2 years ago. And we've noticed now since then there's an awful lot more people keeping roaches now. And also, as well, some of the fancy ones. There's lots and lots of fancy roaches. Now, their care is quite often completely different. So what we're going to concentrate on today is we are just going to look at roaches that we use as food. So feeder roaches. And like I say, we are going to go with the red runners and how we basically set them up. So we've got a colony in here which is in need of a bit of a clean out, needs a bit of a sorting out. And we've got a clean tub here. So what we're going to do is we're going to set them up and we're going to move them over. And that will show you basically how we care for our red runners. Now we keep a number of colonies of these on the go. And we're expanding all the time. We're using more and more. So they are an absolutely wonderful food for your spiders, your scorpions, basically everything that we keep arachnid wise. They're also really good for your reptiles as well. So one of the big things that we often put down to the success of our care with our spiders and bits and pieces and our frogs and things like that, one of the things that we put down to their success is the quality of the food that they're being fed. So that means that we keep and we breed all our own live food. The only thing we don't breed really is crickets, and we don't use locusts. Very rare do we ever use locusts. I personally think they're very expensive and they're not of much nutritional value. There's not a lot to a locust that is of benefit to a spider. There is only really the abdomen. The rest of it is all dry, hard stuff, which gets discarded. If you look at the size of the abdomen on, say, a locust, on a hopper, it is probably less than half of one decent sized red runner. So I think they're rather poor quality food. So I don't use them. Simple as that. Over all the years, hardly ever really used them. And that's for that reason. So we keep red runners, we keep dubia roaches, we keep giant hissing roaches, all for food. And we do use crickets. We've been using crickets again a little bit more for the last probably 6 months or so. And this is because our frogs get through quite a lot of them. Our frogs do like them and they eat an awful lot of them. So we use them mainly for them. But we've started to use the crickets a little bit more on things like our slings and our juvies. We feed a bit more into them because they're nice and easy. And we keep our crickets, although we buy our crickets in, we keep our crickets exactly the same as we keep our roaches. And by doing that, what happens is we buy them in and we buy like 1,000 of each size at a time. We put them in bins like these. These are 70-litre bins. We put them in them exactly the same as we do our roaches, and then we feed them. Then after a day or two, we've got some decent food in them. We can then start to use them. So it's all about getting that food. So what we're going to do now, we're going to start to fill these up. Now, as you can see, the lids on these, same as before. This is for ventilation, and we use a food grade stainless steel mesh. This is very fine, and this is to stop flies entering the enclosure. It just helps. If you was to use a really wide open vent like we have on top of these enclosures, flies and bits and pieces get in there really easy, and they can cause problems. So we try and try and ease off with the amount of flies as possible. Now when we just have our roaches, we can keep them in such a way that we have limited amount of flies to give us any trouble. But when we're buying off crickets in, unfortunately the crickets come with bleeding flies and they are a pain. They really are. I wish the industry could sort out a better way of supplying us with crickets without the damn flies. The flies are what you end up seeing in the room. They're a pain in the neck. So what we do now, this is bran. We literally, a couple of scoops of that. That's all we need, just a couple of scoops. And what we're doing here with this is the bran is basically there to absorb any moisture so that we can keep the livestock that we put in there, we can keep it dry. That's the idea. Keep it dry. Now then, this here, this is the bran, this is what we use. We're always getting asked, what brand of bran do you use? What brand of greens do you use? It really doesn't matter. Anything, this bran here, as you can see here, it is upside down unfortunately, but it says for all horses and ponies, 20 kilos, 20 kilo sack of bran, and this I would have cost maybe £7, something like that, under a tenner, and it lasts forever, and we use it in all of our stuff. So go to your local horse yard or saddlery, anywhere like that, don't matter where you are, you will get bags like this, big sacks of it, dirt cheap. Do not buy it online in these little bags in eBay, because they charge you £5 for it, and it's going to do 1 tub. Buy yourself a sack and keep it dry. It'll last forever, and you can use it as much as you like. And then what we do, we have so we put bran in the bottom, then we have a simple tub. Anything will do, it doesn't matter. I don't know what brand this lid is, no idea, but any tub that you can use for keeping the food. And then what we have here, this is chicken pellets, and again, it doesn't matter what we use. So what we do is we fill that up with chicken pellets. Now these will just be a basic chicken feed, so you can use layers pellets or a basic chicken maintenance diet. That is all this is, and they live on that. They'll eat that. That's their food. So we put that in the corner like so. They'll take all of that. Then what we do is we've got, here we are, we can have a look in here. So as you can see here, exactly the same setup. There's their chicken pellets there. And then what we do is we've got the egg crate here. So this is to give them the home. Now, as you can see here, this is their green food here. And you'll see there's a couple of them in there. So all we can do is we can take this bit of green food out. We can pop that in here. We can still use that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fresh. It went in this morning. So there's no point in wasting it. So we just put that in there like so. Now this here, as you can see here, you see how this is different? It's still dry, but it's just getting that dampness to it now, and it's hardening off. So it's now time to clean this out, really, before it starts going rotten. So what we do then is we can put our tub over here. We can either use brand new egg crate, or if the egg crate is dry, like these are, we can just swap them over. So all we're going to do is we are just going to lift it up, and you can see there, they're all on there. Look at that. See the white ones? These are males that have just molted out. They go dark like that when they're fully done. Now you see there's all different sizes on there. So what we do is we just take that over there nice and carefully, and we pop it back in there. Stand it up, move on, get the next one. Look at that. All that lovely healthy food. See all the males in there? As you remember, we used the different roaches. Look at this one, got egg case there. So these dark ones, these are adult females. These are what's producing all the next generations. We'll put that over there like that. And that's all we do. We just take them out nice and gently. This nice heavy one, look at that, look at them all. You notice they're not all jumping off and flying about. Nothing to worry about. Believe me, if these were all over the house, camera lady would kill me.
I would.
See all the males in that one? Right, so we'll just lift them over. And then we've got the last one here. Now if we have a look in here now, this is the last one. And you notice how we've been careful. There's hardly anything left in that tub. Put that one in there like that. So now all we got is a couple left in here. That is all there is. Look at that, just a couple to catch up. So we can literally just catch them out, pop them in. Now there's a freshly molted one. That's a female. Oh, freshly molted one with a headache. There he goes. Oh.
Okay, Dave, you've got to let me focus.
I was a bit quick there. Sorry, guys. So we're literally just going to look at these last couple. See how fast they are. And that is it. You see, we've got them all. Now, what you can do, you can see here, if I can pick a few up. Now these are the egg cases. So what we can do if we want, we can collect all of those up out of this old tub. It's a little bit time consuming, but we can collect them up and we can put them in a pot with some damp compost and let them hatch out. And then that way we will have a tub full of baby roaches that we can use for our very, very small things. So things like freshly hatched huntsmans, things like the crab spiders, stuff like that. They all, when they first hatch off, the slings are absolutely tiny, and the first hatch of red runner nymphs are an ideal food because they are very, very small, but they're still nutritious, and that is the thing. We want nutritious food to feed to our spiders and keep them healthy. So that is it. We literally move them over. You've seen how easy that was. It took a couple of minutes and it's done. And our roaches are all in there again now, all happy, breeding away. Now we keep our dubia roaches exactly the same. And we often get asked about humidity in keeping these and breeding these roaches, because many people say that they need a high humidity in which to breed, to successfully breed. Now we found that to be false in our circumstances. As you've seen here, this whole setup is designed to keep them dry. We want them to stay dry. Now that is twofold. One is it's much, much better in terms for the room, because they don't smell. We don't get no smell from these guys. When they're kept dry, they don't smell. So it's sort of, it alleviates that. When they start getting damp, they start to smell. And also as well, when they're dry, we don't get so much in the way of flies. It's limited. Whereas as soon as we get them, when we, if we're a little bit slow in cleaning them out and they get a little bit damp, then we often get a boost in flies, which again gets us into trouble. So we have to be on top of it. Now, what we found is there is a different humidity within the egg crates. So as the egg crates are all laying up like that, the closer they are, the higher the humidity within the egg crate. And that is because these guys are eating the greens and everything else. That is where they're getting all of their fluid from, all of their moisture that they need. They then in turn take that back. They defecate between the egg crates, and they do actually pass a little bit of fluid as well. This creates enough humidity between them egg crates to hatch those oothacas out without any problems at all. And ours breed, literally, we leave them to it. They breed in these boxes, and we just let them run amok. They just go mad. The only time we would muck around taking the oothacas out and doing them on their own is if we need a batch of freshly done nymphs, because catching nymphs out of this lot is a headache. It's really difficult. But doing it this way, you can do a colony as much as you like. Now, the other thing to do, if you've not got as many spiders as we have here, you can still keep a colony, an active colony. It doesn't need to get out of hand. So people are often worried that they're going to end up with millions of roaches. You know, if only it was that easy. It would be lovely, wouldn't it? You're not going to happen with that. What you want to do, if you're breeding more than you're using, then all you got to do is cool them down. You cool them down, they will stop breeding. And then when you start getting close to the point where you're thinking, oh, I'm starting to run out, warm them up again, let them breed, and you'll replenish your stocks again. So that's the easiest way to maintain them. Cool them down if you've got too many, warm them up if you need to increase your numbers. It's that simple. Very, very easy. Now, we find in here, we can breed them at a reasonable rate. It's not really that quick. It's a steady rate. We've got 3 colonies on the go here, and it's a steady rate in this room, and it's 80 degrees in this room, so they survive purely off of the room temperature. If we wanted to increase them and breed them, you know, get them breeding quicker, we would give them extra heat in terms of localized heat. So we can use heat mats that we use in reptile keeping. We can either put them on the floor, and if you was to do that, if we say, for argument's sake, this lid is a heat mat, we could put that heat mat on a piece of wood on the floor, like so, and then if that whole lid was the mat, we would literally put that on it like that. So it's half and half. So the crated area would be on the warmth, and the food area would be on a cool side, you see? And then that way we can run the heat mat off of a thermostat, and that you can get your temperatures exactly where you want them. We've had them running up in the high sort of 20, so, or in Fahrenheit we're looking at around about sort of 80 to 85, and they will breed like wildfire. In the room here we have it at 80. It slows them down just that little bit. So you can change how you do them by heat, and it can make a massive difference. Now, the other thing that we often get asked, and we see a lot of people panicking about, is, oh, I can't have red runners. If they get loose in the house, we will be infested with them. Well, that is a bit of an old wives' tale. You are not going to get infested by these guys. You know, if we get one, and we do lose one every now. Did I say that out loud in front of the camera lady?
Did you?
Occasionally I might drop one.
Not as far as I'm aware.
No. Right, I need a new camera person to do this video, really.
I'll block my ears.
Yes. If you do inadvertently drop one, it's not the end of the world. These guys, because of the way they feed and what they feed on, they are not going to survive in your house. When you see these programs, and it's often not in the UK, it's often in other countries, you see them where they're infestations of cockroaches. They're a different type of cockroach, and they have a different requirement. So they survive in households and things like that. These guys will not live in your house in the UK. It's not an issue. It seriously isn't. You might see one scamper across the floor and you think, oh my God, you know, but it's nothing to panic about. It's no worse than having a cricket loose in your house. You know, it's not a big issue. They are not going to cause you major problems. So that I wouldn't worry about. You know, we've been doing these like this for a long time. The only thing I would say is these are 70-litre bins. You want the ones that are clear in the corners. So these are all clear in the corner. Some bins, I don't know if we've got one. Yes, some of them. Right, I've got this one here, but this has got a spider in it. If I show you this one, now you see the corner? It's got like a frosted corner. Yeah, see that difference? Yeah. Yeah. So this has got like a frosted corner. These ones are the same all the way around. They're clear. With the frosted corner, the roaches can climb up the frosted corner, but they can't climb up this clear plastic. You'll notice we've got the lid off here. We've not had a single one of them try climbing. They can't climb up. So keep your bins clean and there's no issues there. You're not going to lose any through escape. You're not going to have a mad exodus when you leave the room. So they're absolutely ideal food. We keep our dubia roaches exactly the same. The care is exactly the same. So if you want to do a dubia colony, you can do them the same as we're doing these red runners. And as we said at the beginning, we also house our crickets exactly the same. The only thing is with the crickets, they are a little bit dirtier and they are a little bit smelly. So I would suggest if you're keeping crickets like that, even if you buy a simple cricket box full of crickets at your local reptile shop or Pets at Home or wherever, put them in another enclosure. You know, so like we often use these. These are smaller, so if you've got a single cricket tub with your crickets, set it up in one of these. Yeah, you can put that up on the shelf, put it wherever you want. It's nice and easy. It's little. Set it up exactly the same as this, but in miniature form, and keep your crickets in there. Do not keep them in the tub. If you keep them in the tub, they're going to die. If you put them in there, they'll last an awful lot longer. So you'll get your value for money. Much better way of doing it. Right, I think that's about it. I think we've covered everything. We put the green food in. We do this every couple of days. We will put green food in. And what we aim to do is put the food in, and we ideally want the food eaten within a couple of hours of it going in there. And then that gives them all the moisture that they need, all the fluid that they need and everything else. You notice how calm they are. They're just all wandering around. Now this is an interesting thing here. Look at the gap between this egg crate and this one. Big gap here. Look at these ones. There's a tiny gap. Now, what happens now is when the youngsters hatch, they will gravitate to these tight ones. And this is because the adults can't get in there. So they're safe in there and they grow up in there and then they venture out. But it gives them somewhere to go. And it's also the humidity between this one and this one will be higher than this one and this one. It doesn't sort of sound like it makes a lot of sense because you think it's all in a box. But the microclimate between these two and these two is entirely different.
It makes sense to me, Mama.
Good. I'm glad it does. I hope it makes sense anyway. But this is a tried and tested thing that we've been doing for an awful long time, and it's worked really, really well. So yeah, it's a really, really good system to have, and yeah, and it will look after your whole collection in no time at all. Right then, I think we've just about covered our live food and how we look after it, and yeah, long may we continue. Right then, don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. And I'll see you all soon, guys.